Is up, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is highly requested and it is a summer TBR, but this is also kind of like my August to be read list. I'm gonna preface this by saying I don't have all the books physically, so all the books I'm going to be mentioning, I'm just going to be putting little pictures here for you to see what they look like, and as always I'll be including a link in the description box of ways you can get the book yourself. Before we get into today's video, I want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Skillshare. If you're unfamiliar with Skillshare, they're an online learning community with hundreds of classes to choose from, ranging from journaling, digital design, art, writing, creativity, basically anything you can think of. Skillshare also has no ads, meaning you're able to stay focused and take your classes without any distractions. And they're also always launching new classes, so you'll almost never be bored. Skillshare has also been kind enough to offer the first 1,000 of you guys to click the link in my description a free 1-month subscription to their premium membership. So if you are interested at all in Skillshare, highly recommend checking them out. Thank you again, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video, and without further ado, let's get back to it. Okay, so the first book that is on my list is called Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The synopsis is Malibu, August 1983. It's the day of Nina Riva's annual end of summer party, and anticipation is at a fever pitch. Everyone wants to be around the famous Rivas. Nina, the talented surfer and supermodel, her brothers Jay and Hud, one a championship surfer, the other a renowned photographer, and their adored sister Kit. Together, the siblings are a source of fascination in Malibu and the world over, especially as the offspring of the legendary singer Mick Riva. The only person not looking forward to the party of the year is Nina herself, who never wanted to be the center of attention and who has also just been very publicly abandoned by her pro tennis player husband. Oh, and maybe Hud, because it is long past time to confess something to the brother from whom he's been inseparable since birth. And Kit has a couple of secrets of her own, including a guest she invited without consulting anyone. Jay, on the other hand, is counting the minutes until nightfall, when the girl he can't stop thinking about promised she'll be there. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames, but before the first spark, in the early hours before dawn, the alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shape this family's generations will all come bubbling to the surface. Okay, this kind of gives me like older generation We Were Liars vibes. So if you haven't read We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, I will also include it in the description box. But I did read that book earlier this summer and I absolutely loved it. And this kind of reminds me of the same thing. It's like basically a family with a lot of secrets, and there's some big thing that happens at the end, and it's kind of like all the secrets that are unveiled in the process of the main build-up or climax of the story happening, and just gives me Outer Banks vibes.
Well, I love you.
No, you don't, Topper. You love the idea of me. You love being seen with me, but you don't love me.
This book I am probably going to read right away because it actually sounds really interesting. The next book on my list I've seen a lot on Instagram and TikTok, and it's called People We Meet on Vacation. I'm going to read the synopsis for you. Poppy and Alex and Poppy. They have nothing in common. She's a wild child, he wears khakis. She has insatiable wanderlust, he prefers to stay home with a book. And somehow, ever since a fateful car share from college many years ago, they're the very best of friends. For most of the year they live apart. She's in New York and he's in their small hometown. But every summer for a decade, they have taken one glorious week of vacation together. Until 2 years ago, when they ruined everything. They haven't spoken since. Poppy has everything she should want, but she's stuck in a rut. When someone asks when she was last truly happy, she knows without a doubt it was on that ill-fated final trip with Alex. And so she decides to convince her best friend to take one more vacation together, lay everything on the table, make it right. Miraculously, he agrees. Now she has a week to fix everything. If only she can get around one big truth that has always stood quietly in the middle of their seemingly perfect relationship. What could possibly go wrong? I will definitely report back and see if it lives up to the hype that Instagram and TikTok and Barnes & Noble like hype it up to be. If you want to read this book too, I highly recommend it. We can read it together and then confess our emotions towards it. So the next book I actually have the physical copy of. I bought this so long ago, but I just haven't read it because I literally have like 20 books on my bookshelf, books that I haven't read yet that I need to read.
Hey. Hey. How y'all doing? But you did this for what?
Why not?
Why?
Why not?
Why though?
So this one is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. The synopsis for Red, White, and Royal Blue is first son Alex Claremont Diaz is the closest thing to a prince this side of the Atlantic. With his intrepid sister and Veep's genius granddaughter, they are the White House trio, a beautiful millennial marketing strategy for his mother, President Ellen Claremont. International socialite duties do have downsides, namely when photos of a confrontation with his longtime nemesis Prince Henry at a royal wedding leak to the tabloids and threaten American and British relations. The plan for damage control, staging a fake friendship between the first son and the prince. As President Claremont kicks off her re-election bid, Alex finds himself hurtling into a secret relationship with Henry that could derail the campaign and upend two nations. What is worth the sacrifice? So I can see myself reading this book. I'm usually like enemies to lovers, really dark fantasy, or like regular fantasy, like not really modern fiction. I wouldn't even know if you would consider these books modern fiction that I've read so far, but they're definitely not like built around a fantasy realm, if that makes sense, and that's usually the genre that I read. The next book is, I know I'm gonna love this book. I feel like I will love this book because it's V.E. Schwab, and she literally never disappoints me. Like if I am having a bad day or if I'm having a bad book experience, I know the next book I need to read has to be a V.E. Schwab novel because I know she can pick me up and she can reward me with a really, really good book. It's called This Savage Song. I apologize if the camera angle looks a bit different. My SD card totally crapped out like midway through me doing this video, and I had to clear up space and like, you know, like technical issues. I was halfway through reading the Savage Song book synopsis, so I'm gonna reread it. There's no such thing as safe in a city at war, a city overrun with monsters. A young woman and a young man must choose whether to become heroes or villains and friends or enemies with the future of their home at stake. Kate Harker and August Flynn are the heirs to a divided city, a city where the violence has begun to breed actual monsters. All Kate wants to be is as ruthless as her father, who lets the monsters roam free and makes the humans pay for his protection. All August wants is to be human, as good-hearted as his own father, to play a bigger role in protecting the innocent, but he's one of the monsters. One who can steal a soul with a simple strain of music. When the chance arises to keep an eye on Kate, who's just been kicked out of her 6th boarding school and returned home, August jumps at it. But Kate discovers August's secret, and after a failed assassination attempt, the pair must flee for their lives. This kind of gives me like lots of enemies to lovers vibes, and it's also fantasy, so if you're into that, like me, highly recommend you jump on this book. I think it's definitely a book that I want to really, really read this month. It also kind of makes me think of Serpent and Dove for some reason, which I will get into later in this video. The next book I really want to read is dedicated to my K-drama obsession. It's called Wicked Fox by Kat Cho, and it's basically 18-year-old Goo Myung has a secret. She's Gumio, a nine-tailed fox who must devour the energy of men in order to survive. Because so few believe in the old tales anymore, and with so many evil men no one will miss, the modern city of Seoul is the perfect place to hide and hunt. But after feeding one full moon, Myung crosses paths with Jihoon, a human boy being attacked by a goblin deep in the forest. Against her better judgment, she violates the rules of survival to rescue the boy, losing her fox speed, her Gumio soul in the process. Jihoon knows Myung is more than just a beautiful girl. He saw her 9 tails the night she saved his life. His grandmother used to tell him stories of the Gumio and their power and the danger they pose to humans, yet he's drawn to her anyway. With murderous forces lurking in the background, Myung and Jihoon develop a tenuous friendship that blossoms into something more. But when a young shaman tries to reunite Myung with her bee, the consequences are disastrous, forcing Myung to choose between her immortal life and Jihoon's. It definitely reminds me of Tale of the Nine-Tailed, which is one of my favorite K-dramas ever. But yeah, I'm super excited to read this book. So the last book that I am planning on reading this month is Gods and Monsters by Shelby Marin, and it is the 3rd book in the Serpent and Dove trilogy. I'm going to read the synopsis for the first book in case you're new to the Serpent and Dove series. A few years ago, Louise LeBlanc fled her coven and took shelter in the city of Cesarine, forsaking all magic and living off whatever she could steal. There, witches like Lou are hunted, they are feared, and they are burned. As a huntsman of the church, Reed Diggory has lived his life by one principle: thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. But when Lou pulls a wicked stunt, the two are forced into an impossible situation: marriage. Lou, unable to ignore her growing feelings yet powerless to change what she is, must make a choice, and love makes a fool of us all. This is definitely another enemies to lovers trope that I love. So basically the whole reason I made this video was because a lot of you guys asked for summer book recommendations, and although that's my TBR for August, I also wanted to share some other books I read this summer that I really enjoyed and that I highly recommend you read in case you haven't already. I have the book with me, and it is also by V.E. Schwab, and I can attest that it's probably one of the best books I've read in my entire existence. Like, it's that good. And basically, a quick little synopsis of it. Victor and Eli started out as college roommates, brilliant, arrogant, lonely boys who recognized the same sharpness and ambition in each other. In their senior year, a shared research interest in adrenaline, near-death experiences, and seemingly supernatural events reveals an intriguing possibility that under the right conditions, someone could develop extraordinary abilities. But when their thesis moves from academic to experimental, things go horribly wrong. It definitely reminds me of like superheroes, villains, comic books, like those kinds of things. Like if you're into that kind of realm with like superhero powers and stuff like that, like this is definitely a book you need to read. Plus V.E. Schwab is such an amazing author in and of itself that I literally love every single thing she writes. It's so well written, and just she has this really cool ability to be able to like take you and immerse you into the world she builds, and I just think that's so cool. So if you haven't read any of her books, I highly recommend first starting off with the Darker Shade of Magic series, but this is also a really good series. It's really underrated, but it's also so good, so highly recommend. Another one of my favorite series that I read all the time, I need to reread it before the new book comes out, but it is the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. I think I read this last summer, not this summer, but last summer, and I've reread it again since then, but it's so good. And I will read a quick synopsis for you. Scarlet Dragna has never left the tiny island where she and her sister Tella live with their powerful and cruel father. Now Scarlet's father has arranged a marriage for her, and Scarlet thinks her dreams of seeing Caraval, the faraway once-a-year performance where the audience participates in the show, are over. But this year, Scarlet's long-dreamt of invitation finally arrives. With the help of a mysterious sailor, Tella whisks Scarlet away to the show. Only as soon as they arrive, Tella is kidnapped by Caraval's mastermind organizer, Legend. It turns out that this season's Caraval revolves around Tella, and whoever finds her first is the winner. Scarlet has been told that everything that happens during Caraval is only an elaborate performance. Nevertheless, she becomes enmeshed in a game of love, heartbreak, and magic, and whether Caraval is real or not, Scarlet must find Tella before the 5 nights of the game are over, or a dangerous domino effect of consequences will be set off and her beloved sister will disappear forever. It's not really hinted at in the synopsis, but this is another kind of, at least I felt that it was like another enemies to lovers trope, especially when you see the mysterious sailor, if you know what I mean. But I really enjoyed this book. It was probably the highlight of my summer last year, aside from reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. Right up there with my top favorite books. So that is going to wrap it up for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it and it gives you guys some inspiration and ideas as to books you can be reading this month. But definitely if you read any of the books I mentioned, feel free to like shoot me a DM or let me know, because I'd love to hear what you guys thought of them. But yeah, also thank you again, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. Know that I'm sending lots of love and good vibes to each and every one of you. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!